There are some very pressing challenges right now that we're seeing in our community that we need some provincial leadership on.
With just a few weeks until the election in Manitoba, Indigenous advocates across the province are hoping to see more from the candidates on how they plan to tackle issues important to the Indigenous community.
I think we have not seen a lot of Indigenous conversations coming from any of the candidates all the way up to the leaders because it's a tricky subject right now, especially in Manitoba.
Michael Redhead Champagne says there are many issues to raise leading up to the election, but none more important than searching the Prairie Green landfill for the remains of 3 Indigenous women.
I think it's critical for leaders to provide empathy and leadership in times where the citizens of Manitoba are in crisis, as we are right now. And so my hope is that we can start moving the search the landfill conversation more onto the political agenda as we get closer to Election Day.
Manitoba NDP leader Rob Canoe says if elected, his government will commit to a search of the landfill, while the Manitoba Liberals have promised to fund half the search. But Heather Stephenson and the PCs are still against funding a search due to health and safety concerns.
It's the first time I'll be voting to get Heather out because the dismissiveness and the callousness that she has shown the Indigenous community, I'm appalled by it.
Demonstration camps calling for the search for the remains of Mercedes Myron, Morgan Harris, and an unidentified victim known as Buffalo Woman have been set up across Winnipeg, including Camp Mercedes near the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. While the landfill search is top of mind, Kyle Mason says it's not the only issue at play.
Our society would benefit from addressing reconciliation. It would benefit from dealing with the housing crisis. People living in tents by the river, too many kids, particularly Indigenous kids and CFS. Our society should be judged by how we treat everybody, and particularly the most vulnerable.
The PCs have promised to spend up to $1.3 million on treaty education resources for K-12 schools this fall. The NDP have committed to open 3 24/7 drop-in centers for Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. The Liberals have promised to return $338 million in federal child benefits that they say were diverted away from Indigenous children in the province.
Reconciliation is something that is on their agenda, but in different ways. And I think that viewers, as candidates come and knock on their doors, would do well to ask those candidates what specifically they would do if elected on this particular file.
Manitobans will head to the polls on October 3rd. In Winnipeg, Alex Karpa, City News.